start charging.
Test one, test.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are, in fact, on. If I could, I know there aren't many chairs here today, but if you can grab a seat and get into position, we'll get underway here shortly. Welcome to Commonwealth Stadium. I'm Dave Jamieson, the Vice President of Communications and Marketing for the Eskimos. Welcome you to today's news conference, and we are carried live today on 6:30 CHED, the Voice of the Eskimos, and we will go to questions momentarily from the floor. What I would ask is if you could, first of all, turn off your cell phones, and also when you're asking the question, identify yourself and your outlet. I will turn things over now to the General Manager of the Edmonton Eskimos, Eric Tillman. Eric?
Thank you, Dave. I'm following your instructions first, turning mine off. I want to thank everyone for coming out today. It's although it's minus 20 and snowy, this is a great day. It's been a very detailed process. I've obviously talked to a lot of good coaches, some strong candidates, but there's no doubt in my mind that the right man is sitting to my left. He's a man of character, of experience, and not only in this league, but knowing this franchise and what it stands for. I've always felt that the team reflects the personality of the head coach. It's a man with great energy and passion. I know players have always responded well to him. And I think that, when you work together like we have in two different situations, and we talked about this in the very beginning of the process, how the decision would be made. There's no substitute for an established relationship. You get to know people in the best of times, and you get to know them in the worst of times. And those two extremes, I think, really tell you a lot about what a person's made of. I'm not sure it ever gets any worse than what we went through with the 13th man. I watched Kavis handle an incredibly painful situation with great dignity. Those of us that were with that team and a part of that family, we know the truth about what happened, where the mistake was made, and we don't point fingers. Kavis stood up and took responsibility and accountability for a mistake that was not his, and that's leadership and that's character. So I want to address that off the top. When you stand up as a team, you stand up as a leader, and you take responsibility and accountability, that says a lot about you. So I feel great about this decision. I had a lot of respect for several others that were involved in the process, but we have the right man. We know what our mandate is, and together we look forward to going forward and giving you a team that you can be proud of on and off the field. And it's a pleasure, an absolute pleasure, to introduce our new head coach, Kavis Reed. Kavis?
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. First and foremost, I would love and have to say thank you to my beautiful wife, my outstanding daughter and son, Tyra and Tarek. Darlene, my unbelievably supportive and super intelligent wife, has been long awaiting for me to return home. I also must thank Mr. Lawlisher and especially my good friend to my right, Mr. Tillman, for blessing me with this tremendous opportunity and tremendous responsibility to be a part of the leadership core of the Edmonton Eskimos. This franchise, when I entered in 1995, is one that is of a great past, and we are looking forward to making certain that the future is just as bright as the past has been. I understand the tradition here. I understand the expectations here. I understand that we're going to build a culture that has been reflective of the Eskimos of the past, where you are afraid to be the weak link, and you're excited about being a part of the process. Again, I would like to thank everyone involved in the decision to bring me here, back home, and I am going to say to all of you right now that I'm prepared to roll up my sleeve and help restore this franchise, Lester.
Terrific. Thank you, Coach Reed. We'll go to questions, and the first up from Morley Scott of 6:30 CHED.
This for both you guys. First, Eric, why is Kavis the right fit for this team at this time? And Kavis, why is this team the right fit for you at this time?
First and foremost, having studied the roster in-depthly the last few weeks, I understand that there are pieces here that are in place that will allow us to win. This franchise has all the mechanisms in place to hit the pavement running in 2011. I feel that having been away for 10 football seasons and observed the organization from afar, I understand the past and the history, and I know that it's not far away from reclaiming what the Eskimos was about.
Morally, as I said, there were multiple good candidates, in this process. A lot of gentlemen that I respect, people that would bring varied strengths to the table. Kavis, though, has so many things going for him. Very intelligent. He has experience in all three aspects of the game. He's worked on offense, defense, and special teams. I think when you work on special teams, when you coach special teams, I think you see the game from a big picture standpoint, different than just offense or defense. You understand that you view it from a whole. You understand how the roster is constructed, why you construct it that way, because special teams, body types. Again, you take from the offense, you take from the defense. So I think working with special teams helps you tremendously in terms of being prepared to be a head coach. I think that not only our shared experience, but having played here and living here, his family being here, he understands the things that make this franchise so unique. Understands the community, the pulse, the passion for the Eskimos, the traditions that's there. You have people that haven't worked here, haven't coached here, that don't fully understand what that means. When you've played here, or when you've coached here, when you've lived here, you understand that. You have respect for the people that came before. People like Coach Campbell, Normie Kwong, Jackie Parker, as we sit here in this room. You understand what the Eskimo way means. And in the interview process, it was very clear to me that Kavis got it at every level, not just his ability to sell me that this franchise so that we could be successful going forward, but his understanding, appreciation, and desire to embrace the history of this club.
Jermaine Franklin with TSN. Eric, I know you addressed it right off the top, but what did you learn about Kavis Reed after that Grey Cup game? And did a light bulb go off?
Well, no, I've been a fan for a long time. Kavis' first coaching opportunity was with us in Ottawa. I saw him as a young, energetic guy with a high IQ. The learning curve was rapid. Anytime you're young, you learn as you go. But we saw a lot of potential there. He left, and we competed against him. But that day, I think, was really a defining moment, Jermaine, because it's the pinnacle of what you're trying to achieve. To get there and be in position to win the Grey Cup, be that close, and have something that unfortunate happen. The young man that made a mistake was a veteran guy on our team. We haven't named him. We're not going to. He's a guy that we have great respect for, and we probably would not have gotten to the Grey Cup without his performances in the previous 18 weeks and in the playoffs. But I think that Kavis stepping forward and assuming responsibility on that play when it was, in fact, called correctly, when the mistake was made with somebody not coming off the field, when there wasn't accounting up top, which is supposed to be in terms of when you're up top, you can see down. When you're on the sidelines, you've got the worst view in the house, people running on and off the field. It's hard to count. There were a combination of things that went wrong. But at the end of the day, I think he stepped up. It went more than just a phrase. He showed you win as a team, you lose as a team. Instead of pointing fingers, he pointed one at himself, and that said a lot about his character.
And maybe this question is for both of you, but starting with Kavis. In terms of coming to this club, I think it's safe to say that it's a significant rebuild going on. Will you guys be rebuilding it together? And what are some of the demands you have of your new GM to get things done properly?
Everything in sports, especially in football, is a collaborative effort. And I think Ms. Tillman and I have sat down and we understand each other's idiosyncrasy. We also understand our competitiveness. And we don't want to use the word rebuild. We want to look at things very in-depthly, make certain we have all our T's crossed and our I's dotted. We know the direction we want to take this football club. We know the personnel that we have. We know the personnel that we have in Q. We're going to work very diligently to make certain that on day one, the best football team is placed on that field. That word rebuild is it borrows too much time. We know right now that we want to be competitive on day one, and that's what the two of us, along with everyone in this organization, is going to work towards.
Gentleman, Ryan Leslie from Sportsnet. Coach, I guess in your first head coaching position, the type of coach you want to be, the head coach you want to be, and the style of football that Eskimo fans can expect to see next season?
You know, I'm a coach that it's just about details. It's about creating an environment conducive to A, learning, and B, winning, and where the expectations are winning every day. You don't go on the football field on game day and win. You win starting from day one of the practice week. You start right now after we leave this press conference towards winning next year. That's all I am going to say. I'm prepared to have a team that is prepared. I'm prepared to have a team that's disciplined. I'm prepared to have a team that's energetic and is going to fight to the very end. But for the most part, I'm not going to define myself. I'm going to let the players on the field define what kind of coach I am. I'm just responsible for creating an environment for them to win.
Kavis over here. Terry Jones of the Edmonton Sun. Can you talk about your background with your wife and family, why you off-seasoned here all the time, and whether it's true that you annoyed every team that you worked with by talking about Edmonton all the time?
I can answer the last one.
I have to say that in this business, a coach, GM, a president, anyone involved in football understand the tremendous tax it can put on a family. My wife, Darlene, has been absolutely outstanding, both in my playing career and as a coach. She's essentially raised my kids. She's been extremely supportive of me. I know that I can always count on her for levity. My kids, they're beautiful young people that are well-disciplined thanks to their mother, and I'm most blessed that they have their mother's look. Darlene has established her as an accountant, as a professional young lady, and this is home for her. This is home for me. We came here about the same time, about 1995, and this is home. We chose to raise our family here because the community is conducive to raising a family. And so we didn't want to transplant our family from city to city, so this is home base. Come here during the off season. Our kids are involved in a lot of different activities in the community. We didn't want to usurp them from their activities or uproot them from their activities. So we're comfortable and happy here. This community has embraced me from the time I stepped off a plane in March of 1995, and I'm indebted to it. So as much time as I can give to the community, I wanted to do that. I continue to do that, even in different colors, and now I'm back where I belong.
The last part of the question about talking about Edmonton.
He talked about Edmonton a lot.
You know, the biggest thing is when I came here, I understood that this was the flagship franchise of the CFL, the way the Eskimos do things and did things. And those things have always been a part of me. They're ingrained in me, and you cannot take that out of me, and I could not take that out of me. It's trying to take the Southern boy out of me is impossible. So once an Eskimo, always an Eskimo, and I took that wherever I went because the franchise does things the right way.
Hey, Kavis, John, Global, welcome back. Nice to see you again. How are you prepared to stabilize a franchise that really needs it right now?
Hey, I'm prepared to work with the leadership that's already in place here. I am not the answer alone. I'm going to be a part of the solution. I'm going to be a part of the process. But this is a collaborative effort. I have the title of head coach, but I understand that one is too small a number to be great and successful, so it is going to be a collaborative effort. It starts with the first step, and Mr. Tillman and I, starting tomorrow, will sit down and we will determine the steps that we're going to take to do things the way the Eskimos are going to do it.
I guess further to you, Eric, how are you prepared to handle that situation and the possible answer no from your new head coach?
Well, it is a collaborative effort, and that's why I said, John, that I think having worked together was a major part of this decision, because when you've been through seasons together and you make decisions and you have to decide sometimes veteran versus old, high salary guy versus young. When you're trying to put the ratio together, how many Americans you're going to have on defense versus offense, where do you make emphasis, different areas, who do you draft, all those things we've been through. I understand how he thinks, how he feels. There's never going to be uniformity. What you need is a strong relationship where you have each other's back, where you can agree. I think there's a way to disagree, I've had the good fortune to be on 3 Grey Cup championship teams. There have been disagreements, and that's part of the process of growing. But I think you respect one another, you communicate, you're open and honest, and then where we agree and disagree, you guys will never know. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is what's best for the Edmonton Eskimos. I think that we understand, and it was part of something that I thought Kavis made very clear in the interview process that, again, worked to his favor. I think that his respect for this, we understand that this franchise, you won't hear us say, our team, or my quarterback, or this team belongs to Edmonton. We're stewards of this team. It was here before us. It will be here after us. And the thing that will drive us is our desire to give our fan base, the people that pay our salaries, a championship caliber team. And where we disagree, we'll discuss it and make a decision and go forward.
Kavis, Dave Mitchell here, CTV. You talked about March of '95 when you came up here to the Great White North, being a southern guy. Talk about your roots and the people that this day would mean most to you, and how much pride they have. And secondly, when you left, your career ended, you always said you're going to become a doctor. How come that hasn't happened yet? And how smart are you?
I'll answer the latter first. I'm not very smart. I just surrounded myself by very intelligent people. Eric and I both are Southern guys, and I think he can relate to this very well. Down in the South, it takes a community to raise a child, and I'm a product of that. I'm from a very small town, Georgetown, South Carolina, agricultural town pretty much, steel mill, paper mill. My family has always ingrained in me the value of hard work, integrity, and to have good ethics. My mother, my 3 sisters, and all of the community I know are very proud of this day, and they share a part in this day, and they are partly responsible for this day. And everything that has happened in my life, the community back home in the States are part of that. I'm very proud of where I came from, as all of the Southern guys are. We embrace the tradition, the culture that we have, and we carry it with pride. And I carry the responsibility of representing my community and my family extremely well.
Davis, Jermaine Franklin, TSN again. They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. How close to, I guess, dying inside were you after that Grey Cup game in '09, and how has that made you a better person today?
Yeah. I was more disappointed and hurt for the players. When you're in leadership, your responsibility is to protect those people that you're in charge of. Eric used the word stewardship. That's what we're responsible for as coaches. We're stewards, and we're supposed to protect those players. It's no different than what I would do for my children. I felt for them. My heart dropped for them. My heart dropped for the community of Regina that really has a tie to that team and a passion and love for that team. You have to be willing to put yourself on a grenade when it's thrown in a room. And that is the way I've been raised. That is who I am. That was nothing but a natural reaction for me because I genuinely care about the people I work with. I genuinely care about the people that work with me. So I don't think it was a growth thing. I don't think it was anything that I had to think about. It was an innate reaction that if it happens again, God forbid it does, it will be the same reaction.
But are you a better coach because of it at all, in any sense?
I understand better. Experience gives you understanding, which gives you wisdom. I understand better. Nothing teaches you more than adverse times. Everyone in a room can go through the good times, but nothing teaches you more than adverse times. And I'm going to say this, we probably are not going to be 20-0. We probably will lose a game or two. So I have to understand how to deal with that. The men are going to take their cue from their coaches, how they react to adverse situations. We're going to be down in football game. If I overreact, the men are going to take those cues. So if I learned anything, is how to handle adversity or strengthen my ability to handle adversity.
Kavis, back over here again. Can you now address the subject of assistant coaches? You're in the unusual situation of having your staff essentially named already in the public prints and stuff. Crandall, Stubler, Campbell. What else were we talking about here? Nelson, Prince, and continue.
I hope whoever printed that got some money for the research they did. They did an outstanding job with some very, very honorable, incredible names. No. We have not decided or approached anyone about being an assistant. We understand the protocol and procedures that are necessary to begin that process. I have to say that those names are great names, but I have not yet spoken to the coaches that are currently on the staff. I think that is, in respect and fairness to them, that is the first thing that will be done. Mr. Shulman and I will start doing that tomorrow as soon as possible. But I love some of the names that were mentioned. They're great people and exceptional coaches, but maybe checks in the mail for someone who did that research for us.
Eric, Dustin Nielsen from the Team 1260. How does Kavis compare to some of the other coaches that you've hired and given their first head coaching job in the past?
Well, I think of, I don't think there's a cookie cutter approach to being successful, and by that I mean it's every coach is different. They have a unique set of strengths, and picking a coach is no different than really from a coaching standpoint how you deal with players. What you do is you identify people's strengths. You try to play to those strengths, and then you try to we all try to surround each other with people that complement us and maybe make up for our weaknesses. You know, the thing that Kavis had, I think, in common with the other five, I guess, was that we had worked together. And I considered deviating from that this time. There were some terrific candidates. There were some really strong candidates and some people that made compelling cases to be hired. And I think several of them will be head coaches, and I hope that they will be. But you learn as you go. And I put a premium on intelligence, on good communication, on someone that can connect with the players. Like I said off the top, I think the team reflects the personality of the head coach. And this is a game of energy and passion. Off the field, you won't meet a nicer guy. On the field, Kavis is an attack-oriented guy, offensively, defensively, and special teams. And, I guess that sense he's, definitely like some people that I've hired. But Ken Miller completely broke, the mold. He's the grandfather type. So you can't be any different. You can't be more different than a Dave Richie and a Ken Miller. I mean, Dave Ritchie's going to Kenny's going to knock on the door and make sure he doesn't offend anybody. Dave Ritchie's going to knock it off his hinges. Those are just different personalities. But passion, intelligence, commitment to excellence, and he clearly brings those.
Kavis, Dean Bennett from CP. Last time you were on this field then as a player, that was your career-ending injury, right?
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit about that and what, as you say, there's adversity, life changes, things can change on a dime. And how has that changed what happened to you? And would you be sitting here today, you think, if life hadn't taken that twist?
No. I believe that there is a perfect plan for all of us, and the times that you grow the most is through adverse situations. At 27, in the prime of my playing career, I had an injury to my neck that required surgery, and it was career-ending. At the time, I was just married to my beautiful wife, and I thought it was unfair to her that I was going to be injured and she would have to take care of me. And I was most concerned about that laying on the field, how unfair it would be to her at such a young age to have to take care of someone because of an injury. When I walked off the field, I knew it was my last game. I had no regrets about my playing career. I only had my future to look forward to with my wife, and I understood that I'm not going to play football forever. I wasn't going to play football forever. Like Eric said, this game is going to survive all of us. You give to it what you have, the passion that you have, and when it's time for you to exit, it's time for you to exit, and hopefully you've left it better than you found it. In life, I learned that things can happen and change in an instant. You have to be prepared for the next step, and that's a proverb I think everyone can use. The next step is the most important step.
Kavis, is there a coach in your past, maybe one here in Edmonton, that you looked at and said, I'm going to take the best that he has and maybe not the worst? Who's going to influence you on the field the most?
You know, I've had the honor and privilege of working with some outstanding coaches. I've learned from every coach that I've worked with, head coach and assistant coaches. I observed everything that they had to offer. I took some of the good and I took some of the bad. But one man stands out. Ronnie Lancaster is an absolutely phenomenal man and an exceptional coach. I was afraid of Ronnie when I played. I thought he was that man, that strict disciplinary grandfather. But when I had the opportunity to work with him, I saw the other side of him. I saw his love of the family, his love of his players. Beyond being an extremely intelligent man and a man that anticipates the next thing, Ronnie was a person of great balance. He balanced family life. He brought those values to the team. The guys responded to him. I know I was afraid to make a mistake when he was the coach, and I took a lot for him. But overall, I've taken something from every coach I've worked with. Yes, here. Yes, there's a lot that I've taken from Don. You weren't the winningest coach in the CFL for no reason, and Don has an exceptional football IQ. He's very passionate about the game of football, and he's a man that is very loyal to his players. So Don has a lot to offer and had a lot to offer, and I took a lot from him.
Eric, this one's for you over here. Can you describe the contrasts or the differences between the new head coach and his predecessor, especially in the area of intensity and stuff like that, which doesn't really show through in this press conference, but I know a bit about him.
Look, I have great respect for Richie, and Richie, Richie was in a situation here that I'm not sure that, without elaboration, was truly reflective of his ability to be successful. We wish him every success. He's a quality guy. There's no need for me to critique Richie Hall. He's a good football coach. He's a good person. I know Kavis considers him a friend. I certainly do. Since we made the change, Richie and I have spoken at length 2 or 3 times. I know he'll do well. I think what each coach has to do is be true to their own personalities, Terry, and I think Richie connected with the players at one level because he is who he is, and he was every day at practice, every day in meetings, he was true to who he was. Different personalities bring different styles. Kavis will definitely bring energy, and I think you don't have to look back. All you have to do is look back and look at his teams and look at Winnipeg last year. I think they led the league in 6 different defensive categories, second overall in points allowed, and it's a style that I like, and that was certainly a major factor in the consideration in the final decision. His team will reflect him, and I think you'll see us be very aggressive on both sides of the ball.
And for you, Kavis, can you kind of guarantee us that the team's going to show up for the opening kickoff?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Can you kind of guarantee us that this team will show up for the opening kickoff?
I will have to add something Eric said about Coach Hall. Tremendous man, outstanding football mind. I consider him a friend. And in answer to your question, we're going to start preparing as soon as this press conference ends, that not only they'll show up for the opening kickoff, but they'll show up for every play. And that's the only way you play football. You play it with passion, you play it with energy, and the score is going to reflect a team that plays with the most passion, the most discipline, and the most energy.
All right, thank you very much, and we'll go to one-on-ones. Thank you.
One-on-ones, I'm here.